At this time, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Nebraska's 1st District.
Gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to thank my friend, the gentlelady from Indiana, Congresswoman Houchin, for her leadership on this very important issue. It has been an absolute pleasure working with her on this bill, which makes manufactured housing less expensive and more accessible to Americans. I also serve as the Housing and Insurance Subcommittee Chairman with the Financial Services Committee. Our committee has jurisdiction over the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is responsible and should be solely responsible for manufactured housing codes. Manufactured homes are more than affordable than site-built and even modular homes, in part because they are built to one single federal code. Regulatory streamlining isn't just a bonus for manufactured housing, it's at the core of what makes these homes cost-effective. That's why this legislation is so important. Inviting a second regulator into the business of manufactured housing codes really undermines a key value proposition for manufactured housing. Since legislation passed in 2007 mandating the Department of Energy establish energy efficiency standards for manufactured homes, the Department of Energy has struggled to effectively craft and implement these standards. They released an advance notice of proposed rulemaking in 2010, and it took them 6 years to propose draft standards in 2016. The final standards were released 15 years after enactment in 2022, but then the Department of Energy delayed implementation of the rule because they were unsure of how they would even enforce the rules. We are now approaching 19 years since enactment, while the Department of Energy is still behind schedule. Unfortunately, the actual content of the final rule is also problematic. The Department of Energy has been sued for this rulemaking for both failing to coordinate with HUD, which was mandated in the statute, and failing to adequately consider costs. The Department of Energy even admitted in their final rule that their analysis has not, quote, included any potential associated costs of testing, compliance, or enforcement, end quote, of the mandate. That's downright embarrassing from an agency tasked with taking cost into account when implementing these standards. Suffice to say, the Department of Energy's entry into manufactured housing standards has not gone very well. Their standards are a decade behind schedule, and their rulemaking would significantly increase the cost of these homes. This bill fixes the problem. It puts HUD back in charge of manufactured housing standards, including those related to energy efficiency, while still giving the opportunity for HUD to look into this. With that, I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields.